Morning, Sana. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, congratulations on your admits.
Thank you.
And it's been a long journey for you, so we want to hear all about it today.
Okay. So I've applied twice to ISB and I got in the second time. Yay.
Share your work experience and about yourself.
Okay. So I'm Sana. I have around 5.5 years of work experience currently, 5 years specifically in Amazon. I joined at a starting level as an L3 auditor, and I got promoted internally to first L4 TS2 and then to a people manager. Okay, as a manager, I've handled training, operations, and quality for multiple programs. Currently, I have 17 people reporting to me, and I'm looking into the quality of 7 programs. That's
Excellent. What was the time when you decided that, okay, let me take up an MBA program? And then what were the factors that were important in deciding one?
So the conversation started at my end when I got promoted to the manager role or somewhere in that job family, because then I knew that if I had not opted for an MBA, my growth to an extent would be limited, and it would take a lot longer for me to grow. So this felt like the perfect time for me to explore what options do I have. Would it be a job switch or an MBA? What would I want to do? And after talking to peers, I finally decided that MBA is the best route for me, because I think almost all the managers in my company have done MBAs from top B schools.
Correct. And in that case, then the 1 year program was a natural choice. So, did you evaluate other programs?
I looked at quite a few choices. So I explored writing GMAT for a 1 year MBA because the programs I was seeing were divided that way. Given the work experience that I had, and also factoring in the fact that it's not that I've decided that I want to do an MBA, so I'll get an admission tomorrow. That journey will also take some time. The 1 year program made more sense to me. I had also looked at the weekend MBA option, that I continue working during the week and learn over the weekends. But I did not find that to be something that suited my needs. So then I decided that, okay, I want to take a break from work and pursue the 1 year MBA option so that I can focus on my studies and then get back to work.
In terms of the GMAT preparation, going back to studies after a long period of work, how was it and what was the GMAT preparation that helped you?
It was not easy. So getting started itself, I think, took me around 3 months. I bought my first textbook in October, and till February, I did not really start preparing properly. It took a lot of motivation from my friends that, hey, this is something you've decided you want to do, so put in your effort. So then I started preparing. I've given 2 attempts for GMAT. The first attempt, I scored a 640. By then, I had gotten a basic grasp of the concepts, and I thought that maybe I'd be able to do it, but it wasn't the case. So then I went in deeper and tried to understand, okay, what are the areas that I need to improve on? For example, in verbal, critical reasoning was something that I needed to work on. So I got material specifically for that. For critical reasoning, I got the CR Bible. I think it's available online if you Google it. And for reading comprehension and sentence correction, I went for EGMAT. It was slightly pricey, so I was hesitant to get it around like the first time around. But I think it has worked wonders for me because these were areas that I really needed to improve on. Quant was something I was very comfortable with. So between the first and the second attempt, I've got almost the same score. It was a 1 mark difference. But in verbal, I've made a very huge improvement. So my score went up from 640 to 710. And it was primarily because of verbal.
And then it is also about, you change your strategies and the way you approach the questions and the way you.
One very big part of my journey was writing mocks. I subscribed to every mock that was there out there just to get into the practice mode. Like, let's say I'm writing my GMAT on a given day. So I made sure that throughout my preparation, I'm blocking 3 hours for myself to go and write the mock so that my body is attuned to, being in that it's focus time now, and then revising the answers that you've given in mocks, trying to analyze what has gone right or what has gone wrong. If you find that some specific question area is something that's not working out for you. So going back and revising the concepts before writing the next mock, I think that made a very big difference for me.
So during all of this journey, there is a very huge element of pressure and stress that you have to go through. You have to manage all of this along with your work. What are the things, in terms of maintaining your mental health and the discipline? What are the things that you would suggest other applicants to look into?
The most important thing to do is to work backwards from the timeline by which you have to apply. Let's say I want to apply in June. So I'm going to work backwards and get a rough estimate of how long would it take for me to prepare and write the exam. I'm saying 4 months for myself. It can be 3 to 6 months for different people. You also have to factor in how busy your work schedules are. After taking this, add a couple of months for a buffer. Let's say you've written GMAT and the first attempt does not give you the that you are getting. Factor in that buffer as well, and then add that again to work backwards towards when do you want to prepare. That gives you a little bit of a relief, because let's say you had targeted April to be the month in which you were going to write the exam, but you don't think you're ready with your prep. It's okay. You still have added that buffer, right? So you can cut yourself some slack and move the date a month forward. Other than this, I think I was able to balance work and preparation because I had the option of taking leaves. I Amazon was flexible that way. I could opt for leaves to prepare, focus on what I'm studying, and go back to work. For those, I think, who do not have that option, taking a longer duration to prepare might be advisable so that you don't stress yourselves out too much.
Now coming to the application preparation. So what was it, or what are the strategies, or how did you go about building your personal brand and storytelling in the application?
I had written GMAT in October, and I thought that, hey, I have 1.5 to 2 months to apply to ISB, so I'm going to take my time and see how do I want to go about it. I sat down to write the essays, and 3 sentences in, I realized that I do not know what to write. Even though the topics were very simple and I had the content, I was not able to write the things at the quality that I wanted. Then I started researching how are other people going about it. I looked at sample essays online, and that scared me further because they use a lot of rosy language, and the accomplishments make you feel as though you're not the kind of candidate who would get selected. And that happened with me as well. So then I freaked out a little more. We looked at a few more YouTube videos. I looked at 5 or 6 different consultants and did proper research on what kind of narrative are they telling, how are they helping people write the essays or bring out their story. And I came across your video. The thing that I liked the most about you was that you were very straightforward. You were trying to beat around the bush in the video that I came across. You were very clear on what you were communicating. And I knew that I could not do this on my own and I wanted assistance. But if, say, I was someone who was better at writing or had a little more experience in just the overall interview process, I probably would not need to get a consultant. So I was clear that, hey, I need help, and this is the person I want help from, because they're very clear. They're not trying to make me feel as though I cannot do it on my own. Even your messages were very clear on that. Hey, you have to do this end to end. Even when I did consult you, throughout the journey, it has been a very good learning experience for me, because it wasn't something as though, okay, you got a consultant, now they're going to write your essay for you. I have written the essays end to end, and I'm very proud of having done that. But that required a lot of support, and I got that from GOALisB.
What about the interview preparation? The first time you interviewed and the next time you interviewed, what was the difference? What was the key preparation that is required for the interview?
One thing that I think a lot of people do not realize is the interview preparation is sort of starting in the background while you're working on your essays as well. So this is something you and I did together. We wrote down all the stories that I had. What are your accomplishments? What are the hurdles you've overcome? And everything around that. And very properly listed down what were my learnings from that. How have I grown as a person from this? So these are things that went into my essay. And the same things then I was able to speak in my interviews. For ISB, the very main thing in interviews is around your work experience in your journey. For me, interview prep It was very simple because all I had to do was look at my stories, get my facts straight, go into the depth of everything that I have written. So if I say that I have implemented X change in my work, what was the reason that we needed the change? What was the impact? What was my contribution? Making sure that I have every element properly listed down, or at least there in my head, so that if this comes up in the interview, I'm able to answer it. I had to go for 2 rounds because I had not interviewed in 4.5 years. The last interview I had given before ISB was the one to join Amazon. And that was as a friend. It was an easy interview where there were questions like, okay, how did you get to the location? And fluency in English is all I needed. I was not able to give my first interview properly. I was nervous. I gave answers, and towards the end of the interview, I understood that okay, I might need to do this again. So the next year, I applied to other B schools as well. I had given quite a few mocks, but I think in a few I got very nervous and I was not able to speak. Like we had to stop the mock because I was not able to continue my sentences. And I needed breathers. Hey, give me 30 seconds. I need to remember what do I want to say. Then I decided that I need to apply to other colleges, put myself in that formal interview position so that I don't have the option of saying, hey, give me a breather. And then I gave one interview before ISB where I did not get selected, but I got my entire nervousness out of my system. I gave answers in proper sentences, conveyed everything that I wanted to. Then ISB was a very smooth sailing journey for me.
Excellent. What was the reapplication process like and the whole experience of being a reapplicant? How did you go about it? What are your tips or suggestions for other people in a similar situation?
For me, it was pretty simple because even in the first round of application, I had decided that, hey, I need a consultant to help me. And because I chose you, I had gone through how to write an essay. It wasn't about that somebody wrote it for me. In the reapplication stage, the only thing that changed was what is new in my application now, what has improved. So for that, I picked around 4 different things that I was doing. One of these was a course that I picked up from on data analytics because that's relevant to my work. And other things were work related, how my scope of work had changed. Just emphasizing on these things and how this shaped my journey into the direction that I wanted to go to was enough for a reapplication. There was no big difference apart from this one thing.
Do you need to rewrite the GMAT again, for to get a higher score? I don't. We usually don't suggest doing that unless it is absolutely essential. If your GMAT is, along the lines of the average of the school, that's mostly not required. And that I think was proved true in your case
Yes.
as well. You did
Yeah.
not write the GMAT again.
I had finished that earlier.
And it's very hard to go back to that same process once
Yes.
you've completed.
By the time I was done with my interview, I had lost all of my emotional energy. And I'd reached a point where it is like, okay, if not now, I'm taking a 6-month break from the B school application. I'm going to work. And then if I want to come back to it, I'll come back later. But I need a break. So I think having someone to motivate you, it's underrated. You need a cheerleader. If it's you who can be your own cheerleader, wonderful. But make sure to have family and friends supporting you.
Absolutely. For the people who are starting off on this journey and who are evaluating schools, preparing for the GMAT, they'll be applying in this next cycle. So, what are some things that you'd like to suggest to them as do's and don'ts?
For do's, this is something that's going to keep coming up throughout your journey. Try to get at least some level of clarity on why do you want to do an MBA. If your answer is I want to earn more, that's a very good starting point. But that's what it is, a starting point. This cannot be the end of your answer. You have to dig deeper as to what is motivating you. If it's just about earning more, when the journey gets very difficult, like let's say I wrote GMAT twice, I applied to 4 different schools, it gets very emotionally draining and financially draining as well because all these applications and writing GMAT costs money. So you have to have a deeper rooting as to why do you want to do an MBA. Apart from that, consult people. So talk to as many people as possible, but do that keeping in mind that anything that somebody says which is not aligning with your thought process, it's all right. Listen to it, but you don't have to take everything to heart. Because some people will say that, you don't need an MBA, you can simply grow the way you're doing, or it's so much money, why do you want to spend that? So make sure that you're consulting people to get their advice, but don't get very hung up on it. Apart from that, I guess that's about it.
Nice.
Do your research. Don't just go with, hey, somebody told me this person, so I'll do that. Because I had done that first. My instinct was, hey, I'll just do what she did. I went to her and asked her, what did you do? She gave me the name of a consultant. And in the first conversation, I was very disappointed because it did not go as I thought it would. My direction was very different and theirs was very different. So I think you have to gauge for yourself, what kind of support are you looking for. Let's say you want a consultant who is doing all the work for you. They're writing your essays, and they're just giving you a questionnaire, preparing you for an interview, like, hey, 5 6 7 or what things that you want to list out. Then GOALisB is not the place for you, because here we are learning to groom ourselves. It's not just for this interview. I would have been able to give other college interviews without support once I had gone through this journey, because I had learned internally what all are the things that I need to do. So get clarity on what level of support are you looking for.